My name is Emma Lawson. I'm 28 years old, and I used to think love meant patience. That belief shattered the night my boyfriend humiliated me in front of my entire family. It was a Sunday evening, the kind where the air smells like roasted garlic, and my mom insists everyone sits together, no excuses. My parents, my brother Daniel, and I were gathered around the table when Liam, my boyfriend of 2 years, raised his third glass of wine and asked me a question that would end everything. He smiled lazily across the table. Daniel makes 6 figures now, doesn't he? Why can't you be more like him, Emma? For a second, I thought I misheard him. The clinking of cutlery stopped. My mom's fork froze midair. My dad's jaw tightened. Daniel. My older brother looked up slowly from his plate, eyes narrowing. Liam laughed as if trying to make it sound like a joke. But there was that sharp undertone in his voice, the kind that cuts through even polite laughter. I mean, you're smart, Em, but you could be doing more right. I set my knife down carefully. My pulse was steady but cold. More, I repeated softly. He leaned back, shrugging. I just mean, Daniel's a senior architect now. He works hard, makes good money. You're comfortable, I guess. But you could push yourself harder. I just don't understand why you don't want more. What he didn't say, but everyone at that table knew, was that Liam had been living in my apartment for 8 months rent-free while building his photography business. I paid for everything, rent, groceries, utilities, even his car insurance. And he had the audacity to ask that. Daniel's fork hit his plate with a quiet clatter. You sure you want to finish that sentence, Liam? Liam gave a nervous chuckle. Relax, I'm just saying. No, I interrupted, my voice, calm, almost detached. You're not just saying. You're comparing me to my brother at my family's dinner table as if I'm a disappointment. So let's explore that, shall we? Liam blinked. Emma, come on. I pulled out my phone, unlocked it, and called Daniel, even though he was sitting 6 feet away. Everyone stared. The call rang once before Daniel's phone lit up beside his plate. He raised an eyebrow, but answered anyway. Yeah. Hey, I said, keeping my tone light. Liam wants to know why I can't be more like you. Could you explain it to him? The silence was brutal. My mother's hand went to her mouth. My father looked like he wanted to disappear into his chair. Daniel slowly set his phone down, then turned to Liam. You really want to have this conversation here? Liam's smirk faltered. You're both overreacting. No, Daniel said flatly. You're freeloading. Liam's face darkened. Excuse me. You heard me. Daniel leaned forward, voice low but razor sharp. You've been living off my sister for almost a year, calling your hobby a business while she works overtime to keep your lazy ass fed. And now you're sitting here in her parents' house asking why she can't be more like me. Liam's mouth opened, then closed. His eyes darted toward me, but I didn't flinch. Daniel continued. You want to know why I'd never date someone like you, Liam? Because I'd never date someone who hasn't paid a single dollar in rent in 8 months, who spends their partner's money on camera lenses while calling it an investment, who took $900 last weekend for a creative retreat with your buddies while she was home balancing bills. Liam's jaw dropped. That's not your business. Daniel's eyes burned. She's my sister. It became my business the moment you started using her. I felt the heat creeping up my neck, but I didn't speak. Not yet. Liam glanced around the table, desperate for backup. None came. My mom's face was pale. My dad's expression was unreadable. Then Liam snapped, You know what? Maybe I shouldn't have come here. Clearly you're all against me. This whole family's toxic. Daniel laughed softly. Funny. Toxic is what we call people who drain others dry and then play the victim when confronted. Liam slammed his napkin down. I'm not doing this. I looked at him calmly. Then don't. Just leave. He stared at me like he couldn't recognize me. You're serious. Very. He scoffed, shaking his head. You know what, fine. I don't need this. I've been talking to someone else anyway. Someone who actually believes in me. The room went dead silent. My mother gasped. My father's hands clenched into fists. Daniel stood slowly, his chair scraping the floor. You might want to stop talking now before you regret what comes next. Liam glared at him. Stay out of it. But I didn't let Daniel speak. I looked Liam straight in the eyes. My voice was calm. Too calm. That's good to know, I said softly. You just saved me a lot of time. He hesitated like he wanted to take it back. Emma, wait. I stood. No, you wait. You've been living off me, disrespecting me, and now you humiliate me in front of my family. No second chances. I turned to my mother. Mom, I think you should leave. She nodded slowly. I agree. Liam's mouth fell open. You're kicking me out. My dad spoke up for the first time, his voice low but commanding. You disrespected my daughter in my house. Yes, you should leave. Liam's eyes darted between us, realizing he'd lost whatever control he thought he had. He grabbed his jacket, muttered something under his breath, and stormed out. Slamming the door behind him so hard, a framed photo rattled off the wall. For a few seconds, there was only silence. Then Daniel exhaled and said dryly, "Well, that happened." I sank back into my chair, my hands trembling slightly under the table. "You okay?" Daniel asked. I nodded. "Yeah." I managed a small, brittle smile. "Actually, better than okay." My father frowned. "You knew this was coming, didn't you?" I looked down at my phone, scrolling briefly. "Let's just say, I changed a few locks this morning." Daniel's lips twitched into a grin. "That's my sister." Mom sighed, pressing a hand to her chest. "I think we all need dessert." We did, but while they passed around pie, I sat in silence, staring at my untouched plate. My mind wasn't on the dinner anymore. It was already on what would happen next. Because Liam thought this was over. He had no idea it was just beginning. By the time I got home that night, the city was asleep, but my mind wasn't. The rain had started to fall, light at first, then heavier. The kind that makes the streets shine and the air smell like metal. I kicked off my heels by the door, changed into an old hoodie, and sat on the couch waiting. I wasn't waiting for peace, I was waiting for him. At 11:47 p.m., headlights swept across my living room window. I didn't even flinch. The pounding started a few seconds later. "Emma, open up. Please, we need to talk." I didn't move. I just watched the door, calm and cold. "Emma, come on, I said things I didn't mean." I leaned back, my phone already recording. "Things you didn't mean, or things you finally said out loud," I whispered under my breath. Another voice came from behind me. Deep, firm, familiar. "You sure you want to handle this alone?" I turned. Daniel stood in the doorway, arms crossed. He had come straight from my parents' house after the dinner. "Figured you'd need backup," he said simply. I smiled faintly. You always did know when to show up. Outside, Liam banged again harder. "Emma, don't ignore me like this." Daniel walked over to the door but didn't open it. "She's not ignoring you," he said, voice calm but deadly. "She's done with you." "Stay out of this, Daniel." "Not a chance," Daniel said. "You crossed a line tonight. My sister's been paying your bills while you treat her like she's your employee." "That's not true," Liam shouted. "Then explain why she has every receipt, every transfer, every loan you promised to pay back, but never did." Silence, only the rain. Liam's voice dropped to a desperate pitch. "I love her. Okay, I just messed up. I got drunk." Daniel cut him off. "You had 3 glasses of wine in 2 hours. That's not drunk. That's truth serum." I finally stood and walked to the door. My reflection in the peephole was calm, composed, detached, but inside, my chest burned with a quiet fury. "Liam," I said loud enough for him to hear through the door, "you need to leave. I'm not leaving until we talk. We have nothing left to talk about." He hit the door again, palms open, voice cracking. "Please, Emma, you can't just erase me like this." "Erase you," I repeated softly. "No, I'm documenting you." I turned my phone toward the door, recording. Daniel took out his own phone and started filming from another angle. "We're doing this by the book," he muttered. Liam kept pleading, shouting, alternating between apologies and blame. "You've changed, Emma. You let your brother poison you against me." I almost laughed. "Daniel didn't poison me," I said, my tone sharp as glass. "He just held up a mirror." There was a pause, the kind that stretches like a held breath. Then suddenly the doorknob rattled. Daniel tensed instantly. "He's trying to get in." I stayed still. "Let him try." He did. It turned once, stopped, then again, then a frustrated grunt. I spoke clearly for the recording. "You're attempting to enter a private residence without permission. You no longer live here. Your name is not on the lease." Daniel added, "This is being recorded for legal protection." Liam cursed under his breath, then kicked the bottom of the door once hard enough to make the frame shake. Daniel stepped forward like he was about to open it, but I touched his arm. "Don't," I said. "He's not worth the energy." Daniel hesitated, then nodded, jaw tight. Finally, after several tense seconds, footsteps retreated down the hallway. The sound of the elevator doors closing echoed faintly, then faded. We stood there in silence. My whole body was trembling now, but not from fear, from adrenaline. Daniel exhaled. "You okay?" I nodded, voice steady. "I will be." He looked at the door again. "You really changed the locks this morning, didn't you?" "Yeah," I said quietly. "I had a feeling dinner would go badly." He smirked. "That's eerie, Em. Like you saw it coming." "I did," I said. "People show you who they are long before you believe them." Daniel looked at me for a long moment, that older brother mix of admiration and sadness. "You deserve better. You always have." I smiled faintly. Now I just have to prove it to myself. He nodded. "Then let's make it official." I frowned. What do you mean? I mean, he said, pulling out his phone, we're not just changing locks. We're cleaning him out. An hour later, Sophia Daniels' girlfriend, and conveniently a lawyer, arrived with boxes, tape, and gloves. She looked at me with a soft smile that had steel underneath. Heard the dinner was eventful, she said. You could say that. Good. Then we'll call this cleanup closure. We packed Liam's things until 2 a.m. The rain never stopped outside, and somehow that sound made the work easier, rhythmic cleansing. His clothes, his books, his camera gear, his gaming console, all neatly boxed, labeled, and moved into the living room. Sophia was meticulous. Take photos of every box. You'll want proof when he inevitably claims you stole something. Already done, Daniel said, snapping pictures. Sophia gave me a knowing look. You've been documenting everything, haven't you? I met her gaze and nodded. Every expense, every transfer, every text where he promised to pay me back. She grinned. Smart woman. Then you've already won half the battle. Daniel taped the final box shut with a sharp rip of packing tape. He's not getting a penny more from you, Em. Not a single one. I stood in the middle of my living room, surrounded by his boxes, and felt something I hadn't in months. Peace. Tomorrow, I said quietly, he can come collect it all. But after that, he's out of my life for good. Sophia raised an eyebrow. You really think he'll just walk away? I gave a small, cold smile. No, I think he'll try something, and I'll be ready. Daniel chuckled softly. You sound like me. Maybe I said turning off my phone camera, or maybe I just finally learned from the best. When they left, the apartment was quiet again. For the first time in 8 months, it was mine. But as I locked the door and turned off the lights, a strange calm washed over me. Because deep down, I knew Liam wasn't done, and neither was I. The next morning, sunlight slid through my curtains like nothing had happened. The boxes of Liam's belongings still lined my living room, stacked neatly in rows, 23 of them, labeled and photographed. I'd slept maybe 2 hours, but I woke up feeling strangely calm. My hands still shook a little as I poured coffee, though. It wasn't fear, it was anticipation. At exactly 11:15 a.m., the doorbell rang. Right on time. I hit record on my phone before opening the door. Liam stood there, flanked by his mother and 2 of his closest friends, one of them carrying an empty tote bag, the other already glaring at me like they were entering a courtroom. Emma. His mother began, her tone sharp and self-righteous. We're here to collect my son's things and to discuss your behavior. Of course, I said politely, stepping aside. His things are ready, but there's nothing to discuss. His mother's eyes narrowed. You can't just throw someone out like garbage because of a misunderstanding. Behind her, Liam crossed his arms. He'd clearly told her a version of last night that made him the victim. I could see it in the way she hovered protectively near him, like I'd wronged her child. I smiled coolly. A misunderstanding. That's an interesting word for 8 months of freeloading. Her eyes flashed. He was building his career. You should be supportive instead of cruel. I gestured to the boxes. I supported him to the tune of $22,400. I have every transaction documented. Rent, food insurance, travel subscriptions, all of it. I'd call that generous, not cruel. Liam's friends exchanged awkward looks. His mother's face went pale. You're making this sound worse than it is. It's math, I said simply. Numbers don't lie. Just then, Daniel arrived. He must have known I'd need backup again, or maybe he just trusted his instincts. He walked in with that unshakable calm that always made people nervous. Morning, he said casually. I see the cavalry arrived. Liam stiffened. You don't need to be here. Daniel ignored him. Mom and Dad said to tell you, Emma, they're proud of you, and that you should keep your door locked. Liam's mother bristled. This isn't your family's business, young man. Daniel smiled politely. You're in my sister's apartment, ma'am. That makes it my business. The silence that followed was delicious. I handed Liam a folded sheet of paper. Here's an itemized list of everything that belongs to you. You can check the boxes before taking them to confirm nothing's missing. I've already recorded everything for my own documentation. Liam looked at the paper but didn't take it. His hand stayed jammed in his pocket's eyes, burning with humiliation. This is ridiculous, his mother said, voice rising. You can't legally throw him out of a shared home. Daniel tilted his head. Shared. He's not on the lease, doesn't pay rent, and hasn't contributed to a single utility bill. This isn't a shared home. It's her home, and he was a guest. I added quietly, an uninvited one now. Liam's friends started picking up boxes, muttering under their breath. One of them said, Man, she really documented everything, huh? Daniel smirked. That's what smart people do when they're being used. Liam glared at him. You think you're better than me? Daniel's tone didn't change. No, I just think Emma finally realized she is. His mother gasped. That's uncalled for. Daniel shrugged. So was what he said last night. Difference is mine's true. Liam's mother looked like she wanted to slap someone, but she settled for snapping. You'll regret this, both of you. My son deserves compensation for everything he's done for her. I raised an eyebrow. Compensation. Yes, she snapped. For emotional distress. For the time he invested in this relationship. Ah, Daniel said dryly. So he wants to get paid for being her boyfriend. Don't twist my words, she barked. I smiled sweetly. No need. They twisted themselves. Liam finally spoke, his voice low and bitter. You're enjoying this, aren't you? I met his eyes. No, Liam. I'm just done apologizing for doing the right thing. He grabbed one of the smaller boxes, muttering, You'll see. This isn't over. Daniel leaned against the wall, arms folded. No, it's really not. I turned to Liam's mother. You have until noon to finish collecting everything. After that, anything left here will be considered abandoned property. I'll be calling the police if you stay past that time. Her eyes widened. You can't. I can, I said, and will. By 12:15, the last box was gone. My floor was empty again. As the elevator doors closed, Liam gave me one last look, a strange mix of resentment and disbelief. Like he couldn't fathom that I'd actually chosen myself over him. When the sound of their footsteps faded, Daniel turned to me. That was impressive. I let out a long breath I didn't know I'd been holding. I feel like I just deleted a virus. He grinned. Good. Now block his number before he tries to reinstall himself. I already did, I said, holding up my phone. And I called my bank. The fraud department is checking every charge from the last 3 months. Daniel's eyebrows lifted. Smart. Sophia texted just then a message that made my stomach twist and settle all at once. If he contacts you or makes threats, don't engage. Just document. Also, don't be surprised if he tries to sue. Entitled people hate losing control. I showed the text to Daniel. He read it, then whistled softly. She knows her stuff. Yeah, I said, my voice calm, and so do I now. He smiled. You sound more like her every day. I looked toward the empty space where the boxes had been and said quietly, Good. I'm tired of sounding like the woman who gets walked on. Daniel chuckled, slinging his jacket over his shoulder. You've got this, Em. Just remember, people like Liam don't go quietly. But you've got something he doesn't. I tilted my head. What's that? He smiled. Evidence. That night I sat on my couch again, the same spot where I'd waited for him just 24 hours earlier. Only this time it wasn't dread I felt, it was control. The apartment was silent, clean, peaceful. But deep down I knew Daniel was right. Liam wouldn't go quietly. And when he came back, I'd be ready to meet him on my terms, legally, calmly, and mercilessly. A week passed. I thought the silence meant it was over. No calls, no messages, no sudden knocks on the door. I started sleeping better, cooking again, even laughing with Daniel and Sophia over coffee. But on the 8th day, peace ended in the form of a manila envelope taped to my apartment door. I didn't even have to open it to know what it was. When I saw the heading, Notice of Civil Complaint, my stomach dropped. Liam was suing me. The list of claims was absurd. Fraudulently obtained funds, $22, $400. Promised financial support, $8,000. Emotional distress, $5,000. Return of gifted items, $3,000. Unlawful eviction. Total $38,400 and a lifetime's worth of audacity. I called Daniel immediately. He's suing me. Daniel's tone was too calm. For what? I read the list. When I finished, there was a pause. Then, he's an idiot. He hung up before I could respond. 2 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. This time it was Sophia. Her voice came through crisp, confident, and amused. He actually filed it. Oh, this is going to be fun. I'm not sure I'd call it fun, I said, pacing my living room. She chuckled. No, Emma. He just handed you the weapon to destroy him legally. By the next morning, Sophia had drawn up a counterclaim that was, in her words, brutal but elegant. It accused Liam of unjust enrichment fraud and theft, referencing the unauthorized credit card charges we'd already flagged with the bank. Let me guess. Daniel said that evening, flipping through the drafts Sophia emailed him. You're going to file this first thing Monday. Sophia nodded. Oh, it's already scheduled. We're not giving him time to regroup. I sank into the couch, exhaling. I don't want revenge, I said softly. I just want my life back. Sophia smiled, but her eyes were sharp. Justice isn't revenge, Emma. It's balance. The courtroom looked smaller than I expected. White walls, wooden benches, a faint hum of the air conditioner. I sat at the plaintiff's table, though by now I was technically the defendant and counterclaimant. Liam was already there when we walked in. His hair was neatly combed, his suit too big. His mother sat behind him, whispering urgently like a lawyer without credentials. When his eyes met mine, I saw something new panic hidden beneath pride. The judge entered. Case 48C, Lawson versus Evans, civil claim and counterclaim. Liam's lawyer, a young man who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, began with practiced confidence. Your Honor, my client was financially manipulated, emotionally exploited, and unlawfully evicted. Sophia didn't even flinch. When it was her turn, she stood with quiet poise. Your Honor, my client has provided exhaustive evidence proving the exact opposite, that she was exploited financially and emotionally by the plaintiff. She handed over a thick folder. Bank statements, receipts, recorded communications, and photographic documentation. Every dollar accounted for. The judge flipped through a few pages, expression neutral. I see. Then Sophia added, voice steady. Additionally, Your Honor, there's a bank fraud report currently under investigation. 3 unauthorized charges made while Mr. Evans was provably not with Ms. Lawson and while she was at her workplace. These charges were reported and verified as fraudulent by the issuing bank. The judge's eyes flicked toward Liam. Is that true, Mr. Evans? His lawyer cleared his throat. We can't confirm those details at this time. The judge interrupted. Then you'd better confirm them before continuing this argument. Behind me, Daniel's quiet chuckle almost made me smile. When the hearing adjourned for the day, Sophia turned to me with a glint in her eyes. He's crumbling. By the next session, they'll be begging to drop the case. 2 nights later, I got the call. Sophia's voice was casual but triumphant. His lawyer reached out. They want to drop the suit if you agree to drop your counterclaim. I didn't hesitate. No. Good, she said, a hint of approval in her tone, because we're not done yet. Is that harsh? I asked. No, she said simply. It's consequences. The next morning, I woke to a barrage of missed calls, 27 from unknown numbers. A few minutes later, Daniel texted me a screenshot. Liam had gone public. A long social media post written to make him look like the heartbroken victim. When you give everything to someone and they throw you out like trash, you start to question if love even means anything. The comments were full of sympathy, people calling him brave, broken, betrayed. I didn't reply. I didn't post anything. Instead, Sophia advised, let him talk. The more he posts, the worse it'll look when we show those as evidence of defamation and emotional harassment. Daniel agreed. Silence will hurt him more than any reply. So I stayed silent until the next court date. Liam came in looking like he hadn't slept in days. His mother was quieter this time, eyes darting between Sophia's folders and the judge's expression. Sophia opened the session with precision. Your Honor, my client has prepared a full counterclaim, $22,400 in unjust enrichment, $4,800 in theft, $10,000 for emotional distress, $5,000 in legal fees, and a criminal complaint for credit card fraud. She slid the documents forward. Total damages $42,200. The judge took one look at the evidence, then at Liam's lawyer. Your client wishes to proceed. Liam's lawyer rubbed his forehead. Your Honor, given the new information, my client would like to withdraw his original complaint. Sophia's tone didn't waver. We decline. We're moving forward with our counterclaim and the criminal complaint. The color drained from Liam's face. His mother whispered something, but he didn't answer. When the session ended, I walked out of the courtroom into the crisp autumn air, the weight in my chest finally lifting. Daniel was waiting near the steps with 2 coffees. He handed one to me. How'd it go? I took a sip and smiled faintly. He tried to drop it. We didn't let him. Daniel chuckled. That's my sister. I glanced back at this courthouse where Liam and his mother stood arguing near the curb. It's not over yet, I said quietly. But for the first time, I think I'm the one holding the cards. He grinned. And the receipts. We both laughed, soft but certain, the sound of balance finally returning. 6 weeks later, I stood in front of the same courthouse where everything began. The morning air was crisp, the kind that bites at your lungs and wakes you up in a way no coffee can. My heels clicked against the marble steps as I climbed them, head held high. It was the final hearing, the day everything would end. Inside the courtroom felt colder than before. Liam was already there, dressed sharply this time in a fitted suit that looked borrowed. His mother sat 2 rows behind him, tense, clutching her purse, as if it might save her from the truth about to hit. Daniel sat beside me, calm as ever, and Sophia flipped through the thick folder of evidence we'd built over the past month and a half, receipts, screenshots, photos, and statements. 87 pages in total. I hadn't realized until that moment how much proof one person could collect when they stopped excusing someone else's behavior. The bailiff called all rise. The judge entered the same one from our first hearing, his expression unreadable, but clearly unimpressed that we were all still here. Court resumes for Lawson versus Evans, he announced. Final hearing on civil and criminal matters. Sophia stood, calm, controlled, razor sharp. Your Honor. My client is prepared to present conclusive evidence in support of the counterclaim and criminal charge for unauthorized use of a financial instrument. Liam's new lawyer, a sleek man with expensive shoes and practiced charm, rose next. Your Honor, my client has suffered significant emotional distress due to the defendant's malicious actions and public humiliation. The judge raised a hand. Counselor, we've heard this before. Proceed with something new. Sophia didn't even look at them. She just began. Exhibit A, she said, sliding forward a packet of bank statements. These show $22,400 in direct transfers from my client to Mr. Evans, none of which were repaid or justified by shared expenses. Exhibit B receipts for his personal purchases charged to her credit card. Exhibit C, the fraud report from the issuing bank confirming 3 unauthorized transactions. She turned toward the witness bench. We also have testimony from the bank's fraud investigator. The investigator took the stand calm and professional. The disputed transactions were made on days when Ms. Lawson's work badge records show she was at her office across town. The purchases were made using a credit card mailed to her residence but activated by a different IP address traced to Mr. Evans's personal laptop. The judge's gaze snapped to Liam. Mr. Evans, do you deny using that credit card? Liam's lawyer shifted uncomfortably. Your Honor, my client may have misunderstood the authorization. Misunderstood, the judge repeated sharply. He stole a credit card from her mail and used it. That's mail fraud and credit card fraud, both federal offenses. Liam's face went white. His mother gasped audibly, whispering, Oh my God, Liam. Sophia continued, voice like steel. In addition, Your Honor, we present Exhibit D, a social media post made by Mr. Evans 3 weeks ago, where he publicly defamed my client, accusing her of emotional abuse and theft. This post received over 200,000 views and directly caused professional harm to Ms. Lawson's career reputation. We are seeking emotional and reputational damages for that as well. The judge exhaled, clearly done with the dramatics. I've seen enough. He shuffled the papers, then looked at Liam. Mr. Evans, you have one chance to explain yourself before I render judgment. Liam swallowed hard. Your Honor. I made mistakes. I wasn't thinking clearly. I loved her. I never meant to hurt anyone. The judge's voice cut through his excuses. You didn't just make mistakes. You exploited someone who trusted you. You lived off her money, used her credit, then tried to weaponize the courts when she finally stopped paying for your life. His gavel hit the desk. Judgment is entered in favor of the defendant, Ms. Lawson. The plaintiff, Mr. Evans, is ordered to pay restitution in the amount of $20,400 for unjust enrichment, $4,800 for theft, $5,000 for emotional distress, and $8,200 in legal fees. Total $40,400. Liam's lawyer tried to speak. Your Honor, that amount is generous, the judge interrupted, considering the criminal referral I'm about to file with the district attorney's office. Liam blinked. Wait, what? The judge fixed him with a glare. You are being referred for potential criminal prosecution for mail fraud and credit card theft. Court is adjourned. The gavel fell again, final and merciless. Liam sank into his chair, staring at nothing. His mother began to sob quietly. Sophia calmly gathered our documents as if she'd just finished a routine meeting. Daniel touched my shoulder. It's over, he said softly. I turned to him, still frozen. Is it? He nodded. Yeah. You just won everything he thought you'd never fight for. Outside, the sun was blinding. I hadn't realized how gray the day had felt until we stepped out. Daniel walked beside me down the courthouse steps carrying my folder. Sophia was already on her phone, arranging follow-up paperwork. At the bottom of the stairs, Liam's voice broke through the crowd. Emma. I stopped, turned. He stood a few feet away, desperation carved into his face. Please, he said, voice trembling. Don't press the criminal charges. I'll pay everything back. I cut him off quietly. No, Liam. You had every chance to make things right. You chose to lie to sue me, to humiliate me. Actions have consequences. I'm just done shielding you from them." He flinched like I'd slapped him. His mother tried to step forward, but Sophia was there instantly, her voice low and firm. "I'd advise you both to leave before you add harassment to the list." They backed away. Daniel and I watched them go, their silhouettes shrinking until they disappeared behind the courthouse columns. "Do you feel better?" he asked. I thought for a moment. "I feel lighter." He smiled faintly. "Good. That's what closure feels like." 3 months later, I sat at the same Sunday dinner table where it all began. This time, there was laughter, warmth, and no tension, just family. Daniel sat across from me, slicing roast chicken, while Mom refilled everyone's glasses. Dad raised his cup. "To new beginnings," he said. "To lessons learned," Daniel added. Mom chuckled. "And to Emma for finally dating herself for a while." I laughed, shaking my head. "That's the plan." As everyone talked, my phone buzzed with a notification, a bank alert. The first payment from the restitution agreement had gone through $350, deposited from Liam Evans. I smiled, not because of the money, but because of what it meant. He was finally paying back what he owed financially, morally, and karmically. Daniel noticed my smile. "What's that look?" "Just thinking," I said. "Remember when Liam asked why I couldn't be more like you?" He grinned. "Oh, I remember." I met his eyes. Turns out I already was. I just forgot for a while. He raised his glass toward me, to remembering. We clinked glasses, and the sound was